We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, if you need just a little bit of extra college football content to get you through the days, to get you through the nights, subscribe to our ever-growing fast channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends, your psychiatrist, your priest, your significant other. Share it across your social media platforms. Welcome into the house that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Big news, June 6th agenda just dropped. I got probably 40 DMs. Thank you so much, PATC community. You have your head on a swivel. We just did an episode. We just dropped an episode this morning, 2:32. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. But we talk about what are we looking for in that agenda that gets dropped today for June 6th. What is the language that we are looking for? And what happens? What happens? It's exactly what we were looking for. My only regret is that we didn't do that episode late last night or earlier this morning to give you a longer peek around the corner before it happened. That is my regret. That's my bad. Wow. First of all, let's get to, of course, college football's peek around the corner. Cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger. Drink responsibly. It's Monday morning. Do not have too many cups of coffee in your cloak and dagger cup. And if you don't have a cloak and dagger cup yet, shame on you. Go to our merchandise store. Link provided in the description. I want to thank for people all coming in here, because I do not do a good enough job in thanking the people, PATC community that comes in here during a live show. Mr. Monkey says, Luis Carlos Diaz, thanks for coming in. Struthers, Patrick Baylor Guy, thank you for coming in once again. John Menser, K-Do, Tater Tots, Lee, Matt Nissen, thank you so much. Jim Reese, Moth Prof, Empire Marketing, Manny Palazzo, Skolducky's back in the house. BR 7062, Gold Nose FSU, Curtis Brown, Ryan Brooks, Mona Vision. He's just recovering from Memorial Weekend. The golf tournament, Columbus, Ohio. Mona Vision's in the house. Kay Nurin, Sam James, Kenner Bowman back in the house. Selena Rodriguez, hello Greg, hello to you Miss Rodriguez. Clay Tree, West Virginia guy, CFB Plus, John Grove, Jeff Olson, the evil badger. You better have read the debrief article that I sent you about those non-human crafts, a part of those crafts that we have picked up here in the last, 6 or 7 decades. Disclosure is happening. Disclosure. Talking about cloak and dagger. That is the ultimate cloak and dagger. That is the story of our lives, if it happens to be true, which I think it is. But anyways, Mike Vernon from Kansas City. Thanks, Mike, for dropping in. Larry Pilgrim, Sabotage, Mr. Utah Man, he's in the house. Okay. Let's get to it. First of all, let's back up. Lewis Pop is in the house. Randy Taylor, D-Day. This is what we received. What day was it? Last Thursday? It might have been last Thursday. June 6th, special board meeting, executive session. We didn't have an agenda. So this morning in episode 232, I went back and looked at what happened in 2010, Colorado Board of Regents, Tuesday, June 8th, 2010. And I want to direct you to the second paragraph. Chair Bosley announced that the board would recess into executive session to receive legal advice regarding a specific matter as permitted under Colorado Statute subsection 24-6-402. So this is what I wanted people to focus on when the agenda for June 6th popped up. So what do we have here? Let's look at the agenda that just popped up. Legal advice on a specific matter as permitted by section 24-6-402. The same exact language that was in the 2010 special board session a couple days before it was announced. Now let's go back into history again, okay? Let's go back into history again. This is June 8, 2010, Board of Regents, University of Colorado, special meeting of the board, second paragraph. Legal advice regarding specific matter as permitted under Colorado subsection 24-6-402. 2 days later, it was announced, the Pac-10 announced Thursday that the University of Colorado has agreed to leave the Big 12 to join its conference. That was 2 days later after that special meeting with all that language in it, right? Then, the next day on June 11th, 2010, there was another special meeting of the board. And in this meeting, there was actually people that came from the Pac-12 conference to join in. So it all started with the meeting on Tuesday. And now this is the meeting on Tuesday, June 6, 2023. Although it says 3:30 p.m. Wednesday, if you see that in the category section, that's Tuesday. Same language, same exact language. Now, Grant Creech in the chat room says a public one should be announced sometime soon after this one. I would agree. I know there is people. I am not going to get down in the weeds, deep in the weeds about, yes, a vote has to be made in public. Yes, it does. We were told this last week. We told you that basically the board, once it gets to that point, it's just a procedural matter, not a really decision-making matter. It won't get to this point if there was issues with the board. The public vote can happen like that. In fact, when I go back into 2010, I saw some document that there wasn't really the official vote until like July 16th or 18th of 2010. So again, I'm not going to get caught up on when is the public meeting. When is that going to happen? When are the votes? I know a lot of you are, and that's fine. Look, Colorado has been working on this for a long time. There has been 3 big events that we know at the University of Colorado. Or not exact. I misspoke. I got to be careful. There has been 3 major events that we know of here at Peek Around the Corner, that we knew before it happened, that we gave you all that we could in describing the events. I know we were vague on it, but we talked about this big bubble of action that was going to happen between April 28th and May 17th. We talked about that in the middle of April. Then we got word in the early afternoon of April 28th that it was going to happen, that it was scheduled. We didn't quite know the date. We knew it was going to be in the weekend of May 6th or May 7th. We found out shortly thereafter it was May 7th in a city in the Midwest. We tracked it. It actually happened. We got one little detail part wrong in that event. I can't really get into what we're going to take the L on it, because on April 28th or April 29th or April 30th, we told you somebody was on the stage at the PATC Theater representing Colorado. That person wasn't on the stage. It was another person. We got a detail wrong. And when this story breaks, we're going to take the L and let you know the detail we got wrong. But most of it, we were following in real time. We understood the cloak that was going on. We did not know when the dagger was going to happen. So that happened May 7th. And we called it, after May 7th, on May 9th or 10th, we called it a shot in the solar plexus. The Pac-12 got a shot in the solar plexus. And really, truly, I do not believe that the Pac-12 knew that it happened. Maybe we will learn differently, but I don't think they knew that it happened at the time. And then there was an event on May 24th that happened in Boulder, Colorado. And then on May 31st, there was an event that happened out west of the state of Colorado. And I feel like I am free to say this part. However this goes, I am free to say this part. No strings attached. I'm being respectful. I'm being professional. I've never gotten out in front of the story. We haven't crushed the story. We've given you a peek around the corner. But I can say this. The donors of the University of Colorado, those who are very committed to the University of Colorado's front porch of the universities, have given their blessing. If Colorado decides to move to the Big 12, they've given their blessing. They've given their blessing. They've given their blessing. And you can say, Greg, how can you possibly know that? We'll talk more about it once this happens. Now, let's get to your comments. Obviously, this is what we were thinking was going to happen. The language fits perfectly. Could this be talking about the treasurer? No. I see that CFB Plus says the April 17th meeting had the exact same language. Within the 246402, it seems like the language is same for all the meetings like that. For right now, CFB Plus, we're taking this meeting very seriously unless we get evidence otherwise. Remember, when we talked about the hot bubble of action happening in between April 28th and May 17th, it was in and around April 17th when we made that statement. When the Arizona State Money Perch was given information in the state of Colorado, somebody not affiliated with their athletic department, someone not affiliated with their administration, not a donor, somebody else in a different pillar of the Colorado community. We had the information. We knew there was something big was going to happen. We got it confirmed on April 28th. We know why it couldn't have happened any other weekend in that time range, but we're not going to get into it. It happened on May 7th, and we are taking this June 6th meeting very, very serious. I understand this is the language used, and I get it. Lone Redwood Tree. This language has been used in Colorado meetings multiple times in the past few months. It just seems like general language used for athletic matters. This is an athletic matters. No question about it. I get it. Some people believe this isn't quite some people still believe that this isn't happening, or maybe this isn't the start of something happening. I can tell you from Peek Around the Corner perspective that this has been going on for quite a long time. This is why we've had Colorado at the center of the stage and nobody else with them. I got a hunch that this is about realignment. Sean says Arizona will be following soon. Athletics matters. It's part of the language. Yes, they've used this before. No, it doesn't say realignment. It doesn't say realignment, and it never has said realignment. It's not going to say that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But this is the language that we expected it if it was about realignment. And it just so happens to be June 6th. And there's a lot of stuff going. There has been a lot of buy-in at the University of Colorado if the chancellor decides to pull the trigger. And I don't know. I mean, I keep hearing this mystery Pac-12 media deal with Apple. Maybe it gets announced. Maybe it gets announced next week. Ted Adams, it's on, folks. Get your popcorn ready. Sounds like the whole shooting match could happen this week, not just Colorado. John Grove, greetings, Greg. Imad, thank you, sir. It's swivel time. Absolutely. Grateful Trojan. Greg, didn't I say months ago that Colorado would be the first to make the move? You very well could have been, sir. I get a lot of people making predictions, sending it my way. So yes, you probably did say that. Charles M's, I actually prefer UConn, San Diego State over the corner four. We also talked about in the episode 232 of this morning that Tim Brando said that he believed all four corner schools. He thought it was very likely that Colorado, Arizona State, and Utah would be going to the Big 12. So now let's set up Act 12 once again, an update. We remember it started June 1st, May 31st, June 1st, Act 12. We talked about it a couple weeks prior. We said that Act 12 was going to happen right around June 1st, and it was going to be the act with a lot of action scenes in it. Colorado, going into Act 12, of course, they remain in the center of the stage. Arizona is a couple arm lengths away from Colorado, right? Oregon and Washington, we had them in the front row watching what was going on in the stage with the Fox executive in the middle. They are no longer sitting in the front row. Washington and Oregon have got up and left the building. They have walked out of the PATC theater. They've gotten in their cars with the Fox executive and they have driven off. We'll talk more about that later. Tony Petitti, who was in the last chair in the first row, has left the auditorium, gotten into his car, and is driven off. So there's nobody sitting in the front row anymore as Colorado's doing their Act 12. Brett Yormark and George Kliavkoff are on the sides of Colorado, both talking into Colorado's ear. That's what's going on. Arizona's a couple arm lengths away. Now, we had Arizona State in the 15th row, waving their arms, trying to get Arizona's attention. They remain in the 15th row. I know there's some reports out there, some people have done a great job in this story, saying that it's unlikely that Arizona State would go to the Big 12. And they raise a lot of good points. The president of Arizona State, he does not have the relationships with the Big 12. Not just with the commissioner, not just with some of the presidents, with the whole thing. Michael Crow is very cold on the Big 12. There is internal support, as we've been told by Arizona State Money Perch. There are people that are willing to go with Arizona or closely after Arizona. So we're not going to move Arizona State off that 15th row. However, we're going to move Utah right in the same row as Arizona State. In our last update, we had Utah finally entering the front foyer. Finally, now they're getting into the auditorium. Now they're sitting in the same row as Arizona State. Utah's interest in what is going on with Colorado has skyrocketed here in the last 96 hours, let's say. We got some information on Utah. They're all the way up to the 15th row with Arizona State. UConn, we're going to move them up from the 38th row all the way to the 20th row. They're 5 rows behind. They're not taking any more notes. They know what's going on. They believe they know what's going on. They know there's legit interest from Brett Yormark. They're going to see how the dominoes fall in front of them. But they're not taking no more notes. They know where they stand. They've had their meetings with Brett Yormark. Now they wait to see what happens before them. UNLV is no longer sitting right outside the foyer. They have gone home. UNLV's gotten in the car. They have driven home. San Diego State is still across the street with binoculars on, and there's no sign of Memphis. Now for the big update. Gonzaga, they have been out of the PATC theater for a couple weeks. They're back in the foyer. They're not in the auditorium yet. They're back in the foyer. There is some disagreement between Gonzaga and the Big 12. Gonzaga might be capitulating a little bit here. They're back in the building. They're back in the front foyer. That's our scene here for Act 12. Remember, we've been saying this for weeks. The middle of May. That June 1st was Act 12, and it was going to be a lot of action. And I think we're starting to, it has been going on. We know something happened May 31st, which we can't give the details on, and it happened west of Colorado. which when this story breaks, the reporters are going to talk about it. And then June 1st and now June 6th. So buckle up. We're going to get to your phone calls here. John, do you think they take the Four Corners? I don't know. What's that OS? Oregon State, Washington, San Diego State, and UConn. 20 teams? I don't think so. But you know what? We'll wait to see if and when Colorado decides to join officially the Big 12. And then things are going to happen faster than people can report them. And we'll see where it all lies after a couple days after Colorado, if they decide to make their decision to move to the Big 12. I don't see that scenario happening. I don't see it happening. I don't see I don't see the Big 12. I haven't heard any talks with Oregon State and Washington State with the Big 12. Maybe it's happened, but we haven't picked up on it at Peek Around the Corner. Months and months ago, we picked up a lot on the Colorado, Arizona State, and Utah. That's why we reported it. That's why we became a target for many people on Twitter and internet saying none of this was happening. No chance of it happening. There was a lot of communications, a lot of sources, a lot of people in the money perch talking. They were worried about the Pac-12 next media deal. They're still worried. You all know. I don't have to go through all that. But thank you, John, for the super chat. I appreciate your generosity once again to our show. We got to get to your phone calls. We have to get to your phone calls. (763-260-1333). Now, is this meeting on June 6th about realignment? I happen to think it is. Do I have anybody in the Colorado Board of Regents telling me, definitely, Greg, this is it? No. But I have people telling me that Colorado, not only have they done everything in regards to dotting the I's and crossing the T's to join the Big 12, we believe they are within very short time frame of joining the Big 12. Let's get to your phone calls. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Tell me how crazy I am. Maybe this has nothing to do with realignment. Let's look at it again. Legal advice on a specific matter, athletics matter, personnel matter. Tater Tots, thank you so much for your super chat. Does the Big Ten come back into play in Act 13, Act 14? I think we're going to have to, yes. Does Big Ten come back into play if Act 12 goes the way we think it's going to go, and we've had this belief for quite a while? Yes. Does that mean that Big Ten is going to successfully expand at this time? No. But coming back into play, yes. Yes, there's going to be discussions. Again, this is a cost-benefit analysis among the Big Ten. When is it the best for them, the interest of their institutions, to expand with an Oregon and a Washington? Is it best to do it now or wait some years from now, 3, 4, 5 years from now? When is it best for the Big Ten? Does the Big Ten have some ability to know that there's going to be more than 12 at-large bids in the college football playoffs starting in 2026? Is the playoffs going to remain the same? The legality issues, the legal issues, what's really stopping the Big Ten right now, the legal counsel of the Big Ten, not wanting all the blood on their hands for the destruction of the Pac-12. That hurdle will be gone, of course, if the Big 12 cracks open the Pac-12 by getting the University of Colorado. I do think, obviously, you all know that I do believe there's a serious threat of Oregon and Washington going to the Big Ten soon. But it might wait 4 years from now. I mean, this is not something that's decided on. We don't believe so. We've always said that the Big Ten, we have said it longer, stronger, harder. We've done it more than anybody else out there. That Oregon and Washington, what was wanted by many in the Big Ten, for all the reasons we've talked about. Big Ten was always going to expand east. They're going to be successful in expanding eastward at some point years down the road. And they're not going to have a 2022, 24 team conference with only two teams two teams west of Lincoln. That's not the composition of this conference. That's not what's going to happen. So when is it best for the Big Ten? The largest hurdle, Kevin Warren, he's gone. Now, when I said Kevin Warren was the largest hurdle to expansion, I got killed in so many different places. But it's going to end up being accurate. It's already accurate. We were told this over and over again, that even though Kevin Warren wanted more expansion right now for the Big Ten, he was the biggest hurdle because Fox Sports was not going to play with them. They were not going to work with them. We said that. How long ago did we say that? Right when Kevin Warren decided to leave. And then there has been articles since then backing us up that Fox Sports was mad at Kevin Warren for all those reasons, giving NBC the Big Ten 2026 championship game, host of reasons why people were upset with Kevin Warren. They weren't going to do any more deals with them. So when he left, that was the number one hurdle. Another big hurdle is the legal hurdle. But that hurdle is going to be pushed away if the Big 12 can crack open. Now the rest, the next big hurdle for Big Ten expansion would be the money. Who's going to pay for it? Are the current media partners willing to pay for it? Or is this going to be a new media partner that has to come in and pay for it? And what is in it for Purdue? What is in it for Minnesota? What is in it for Illinois? What is in it for Indiana? What is in it for Rutgers? What is in it for Maryland? If you're going to go and get Oregon and Washington, what is it in it for those schools? How does a Northwestern prosper if we're taking Oregon and Washington? That has to be answered. One big hurdle got pushed out. Another big hurdle could be getting pushed aside here real soon. Now people are talking about Notre Dame and Miami. Absolutely. We have said here at Peek Around the Corner that at some point the walls are going to close in on Notre Dame. They are closing in on them. And at some point we believe, all the way back into episode 1, our manifesto here at Peek Around the Corner, that Notre Dame would have to give up football independent at some point. They don't want to. We understand that, but there's more to the story. We think at some point they will. And then if they do, they're probably going to come to the Big Ten, right? And we think Miami, Florida, we have said this since day one, they're the most likely ACC school to join the Big Ten. They might not be the Big Ten number one target from the ACC, but they're the most likely school to join the Big Ten from the ACC. We don't think the SEC is going to go for Miami or Florida. We know that the Big Ten and SEC would both love North Carolina, for example. So Notre Dame, Miami, Florida, absolutely. Everyone is saying that now, right? But again, Notre Dame is going to look at themselves as an Eastern addition to the Big Ten. We talked about that in a live show, a couple live shows ago. Notre Dame would look at themselves as an Eastern addition, not a Midwest addition to the Big Ten. Keep that in mind. The Monty Show has reported NBC has verbally agreed to picking up the freight of Oregon and Washington. I don't have any of that information. I do know I've watched maybe 10 minutes of the Monty Show, and I watched them one time because they did have the right numbers in regards to what ESPN offered the Pac-12. So we did not, all we did at Peek Around the Corners was say that ESPN gave them a really low ball, the Pac-12. We did not give out that number. Monty Show did give out the number, and it was accurate. So they do talk to people, Monty Show. Now, they did say at one point that that the Pac-12 had their media deal done, and they're working on the grant of rights. They had it on their live show. They had it on their shorts. If you look at the shorts, they said it. And I said, whoa. They don't have a deal done. They don't even have a deal in front of the Pac-12 presidents. So someone gave them bad information. That happens. So, but other than that, I don't know what the Monty Show is talking about in regards to this situation. I don't have that information at all about Washington, Oregon having their freight paid by NBC. I mean, if the current media partners are paying the freight of Oregon and Washington, it would be more than just NBC, because NBC would benefit. NBC would benefit. CBS would benefit. Fox would benefit. Fox would get, they would be able to have the Big Ten Network in Oregon and Washington. It'd probably sell very well at the high subscription rate. Fox would benefit. I think if their freight was paid by their current media partners, it would be all of them pitching in. But again, I haven't heard that to be the case. Again, and I frustrate people here because I have been solely focused on Colorado ever since April, ever since the middle of April, ever since we knew this hot bubble of action, ever since we started following this May 7th event that was a shot to the solar plexus. And we said on May 10th, the conference was hanging by a thread. Pac-12 was still surviving, but it was hanging by a thread on what happened on May 7th. And then May 24th and May 31st, it keeps coming. Colorado has done everything they needed to do to flip the switch. If they wanted to pull the trigger to go to the Big 12, internally, the University of Colorado has done everything to make it happen. Everything. Take that however you want it. They've got it all done. That's why this June 6th meeting, with that language, our antennas have to go up. Because we know that they've gotten everything else done. And then that includes the donors. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Again, phone line open 763-260-1333. Phone lines are open. I do not think Notre Dame and Miami are now next in line. There's this thing called the ACC Grant of Rights. Now, we have said on our show that the easiest way to crack the GOR would be if Notre Dame left first. We have no indications at Peek Around the Corner that Notre Dame is about to announce they're leaving the ACC. No indications of that. We think it's going to happen at some point, but we have no steam on that. Peek around the corner. Someone's going to have to challenge the grant of rights of the courts, and that's going to take a while. So we don't. If they are the next in line, then right now you would have to project that as years down the line, and the Big Ten will wait on the addition of Oregon and Washington. Oregon and Washington, I don't think they have anything to sweat right now.
Call from
Robert Perez.
Robert, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling.
Thank you, Greg. So the reason I'm calling is because these schools, Arizona, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington, we all know that there's not a good deal being able to be reached with Pac-12.
Can you? Okay, we're having trouble hearing you.
Okay.
There you go.
Now?
There you go. Better. Okay. Go. Start over.
Okay. So the Pac-12 is having difficulties coming up with an agreement for TV money because a lot of the schools that are in there now aren't in areas where there's a big TV population. Well, I guess there is, but for whatever reason, they're not able to come up with money. So I kind of find it hard to believe that all of a sudden, from going from PAC, where there's not a very good amount of money that they're going to be able to get, going to the Big 12, all of a sudden those schools are going to be worth more money all of a sudden. So I think what's happening is those schools that are allegedly going to be going to the Big 12, I think it's going to be just more like maybe 1, 2 at the stretch, because Big 12 ain't going to give them the money that they're not worth in the Pac-12. So in other words, if Big 12 gives them more money than what they were worth in the Pac-12, that would really put the TV or the contract for the Big 12 in jeopardy, because it's like they're giving them more money than what they're worth anywhere else.
I understand that point. However,
go ahead.
However, you can take this however you want it. If you disagree with it, that's fine. But we've been told long ago that Fox will pay up, even though they're not contractually obligated to do so. They will match ESPN. ESPN is contractually obligated to do so, to pay the pro rata to any of those schools going into the Big 12, according to the new Big 12 media contract, that these schools will be paid in full. If all 4 corner schools leave, they will go and get paid $31.6, $31.7 million a year. And I'll add this one point to it. There is a cloak and dagger motivation for Fox to want this to happen. Fox Sports wants Colorado, wants the chancellor, what's his name, Deion Sanders. They want the University of Colorado to move to the Big 12. So, I understand what you're saying in regards to value. Why would they get this in the Big 12 and why can't they get that in the Pac-12? I get your point, but there is some cloak and dagger stuff going on.
Do you know, are you able to reveal the reason why that might be, why they want them to move conferences other than wanting to destroy the Pac?
Well, Fox. Yeah, okay, I'll get to that in a second. Fox would like the opportunity, number one, for the Big Ten to take another fresh look at Oregon and Washington, because they want them in the Big Ten. It isn't Fox that is holding back Oregon and Washington going to the Big Ten. It's the Big Ten legal counsel that's holding it back. Number two, it would still be cost beneficial for Fox not to do a deal with the Pac-12 and then just to pay some schools to go to the Big 12, right? The math.
Okay.
So, and again, if people don't want to, a lot of people have reported on this besides Peek Around the Corner, but Dennis Dodd, all of them, Brett McMurphy, all of them have. This is, but you gotta, and let's say what I'm saying is true, okay, Robert?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say it's true, for the sake of what I'm about to say next. Colorado's sitting there knowing that they're going to make $31.67 million in media money. They know that in 2024, 2025, they're going to make $44 million per conference payout in the Big 12. This is before the conference football playoff revenue comes in. And they're waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting to see if what the Pac-12 has in store from them, what kind of deal that is. It's getting harder and harder for Colorado to turn down that Big 12 deal.
I would imagine that being the case, if it was 31.6, what I'm hearing, Greg, is I'm hearing that the Big 12 is not going to give any member a full pro rata share. In other words, they're going to be given a lesser than full share, no matter who comes in. And I think Brett Yomark was on record on that. I know from reports here in Fresno that Fresno State, when they come in, I'll say that, they will be getting a lesser than full share, right? You know, just like all the other schools.
But they're not covered by the pro rata. Big 12 was able in their new media contract, the one that actually starts in 2025, in that media deal, they have a pro rata deal with ESPN to say that any Power 5 school that comes into your conference, we will pay like we pay the Big 12 schools. And now,
I understand that.
That's in the media package. That's in the media deal. That's in the media deal. This is again, take it however you want it. We here at Peek Around the Corner, we can disagree. We disagree with each other often, so it's all good. I'm just, if
Greg,
this happens,
you have great. I love your show. I love everything you have to say, and I have no reason to sit here and think you're making things up at all. I think I listen to your show more than any other.
I appreciate it.
So that tells you. But I think like you said, I think we'll have to find out what that contract number is, because I can't imagine Colorado or any other school for that matter in the Pac-12 not jumping right this second, knowing that they could get $31.6 million a year when Pac can't even get anything together. So I find that a little bit not. I mean,
I understand.
I understand that they're probably waiting to see what the TV contract is, but I would imagine that there would be some indication that they were sticking together and that it was going to happen versus the opposite. So and that's why I say I think, you know, the Big 12. What the reason why they haven't fully jumped yet is because. Just again, this is my belief, and we can agree to disagree. And I respect everything that you say and love your show.
Yep.
And I think they're not going to be offered the full pro rata, but they'll be, even though that Big 12 may be getting contractual money from ESPN and all the other places, they may get 31.6, but they're not going to give them 31.6. I'm thinking they're going to offer them, from what I'm hearing, lesser than that.
Well, I'll end the call this way. You can take this however you want it. Colorado has done so much behind the scenes. I mean, they have they have lifted every rock. They have talked, I'm trying not to give too much away, but they have talked to their minnows, to their whales. They have gone over and above. They have given the Pac-12 every chance. They would not have gone through all of these events, and I'm still calling them events because I can't say anything else. They wouldn't have done all of this work if they were getting less than the other Big 12 schools. So take that however you want it. Okay?
It makes sense.
All right. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. Have a great day.
You got it. You too. Great call. And again, it's unfair because, I haven't gone into the details of the May 7th, May 24th, May 31st. If I would have gone into the details, then it would be a lot more clear. So I understand people's frustration. I understand Robert's point on it. I get it. All I can do, I'm just doing the best I can. Why we've been so focused on Colorado and the bubble of action that we called it is because it was momentous and it happened, and I think we're about to see the results of everything that's been going on. We've never had anybody else in the middle of the stage in our PATC theater. It's been one school. Colorado. We never put Arizona there. Arizona State, Utah. We never put UConn, San Diego State. It's always been Colorado because the information that we've been following in real time has led us to setting up the PATC theater in the way we have set it up. That's the best I can do. And I know that's not good enough for a lot of people who watch this show. And again, that's my loss. That's not your loss. There's a lot of YouTube channels, a lot of great content out there. But I can't go above what I've said because I can't do it. Because I want to harvest the field over and over and over and over again to give you guys the best peek around the corner in college football. This story is going to end. We're going to be talking about college football season. We're going to have so much joy into that. Then we're going to be talking about the ACC, what's going on. We gave you a little peek on December 26, 2022. We couldn't get more into it. We had to stand down because we had to do it responsibly, the story. And then it came out 2 months later, February 24th. Florida State's athletic director came out and said basically what we said on December 26th. And here we are. Anyways, phone line 763-260-1333. Thank you all for coming in. I know it's still Central Time, 11:46 in the morning. We have way over 300 people in the chat. Well, 300 people watching. I appreciate you all coming in. But we felt that we had to go live right now because, well, why not? That's why it's important to subscribe to this channel because we can pop up at any time. It's the way to get notified when we're going to pop up with the next live show or next episode. Okay, so I appreciate you all coming in. Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Chris George, your mark was never in record saying they were not going to give or not give full share to anyone. No idea where this guy is coming from. What I can say is contractually ESPN has to do it. Fox is willing to do it.
Call from
DJ.
DJ, the floor is yours.
Yeah. I understand some of these university presidents and university ADs in the PAC doing their due diligence and how some of them may really want to see that media deal before making a decision. But, I mean, what's your thoughts on the July 1 San Diego State doubling of the exit fee? I mean, if you lose a team or two, it's not just a simple replace at that point. So, I mean, don't you think that places a little bit more pressure on those presidents and ADs to kind of look at the commissioner and say, hey, you need to get us something or else you're really handicapping our conference?
Yeah, that's great, great question, great point, great comment. That whole San Diego State thing with their exit fee, Mountain West, they've said they can't afford it, right? So Pac-12's got to get a media deal done. They got to get a media deal done. Then they got to go into expansion talks if they want to get San Diego State. But man, I don't know. San Diego State, they were in the perfect storm. Perfect storm. We did an episode number 4 of this channel talking about San Diego State's perfect storm. But I don't think they played the cards right. I think they put too many of the chips in the middle of the table in the Pac-12 box. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They didn't put enough of their chips in the Big 12 box. They should have played the Big 12 more. Should have played, balance them off each other. There was too many public comments from San Diego State's leadership, the president, the athletic director, saying, well, we really think we're definitely going to be in a Power 5 conference. Most likely it's the Pac-12. I think they should have said less, or when they spoke, they should have talked about the Big 12 as much as the Pac-12.
Any chance San Diego State ends up in the Big 12? I mean, it seems like Yormark really wants to diversify the conference in a basketball way.
Sure, yes.
I'm a little torn on that in terms of, the way conferences work in today's world. But, okay, so we're going to make it a little bit more basketball-centric than maybe some of these other, Power 5s. But, San Diego State, if we're looking at UConn, I think San Diego State would be a good companion from the West Coast as well.
No question about it. Coach Dutcher, who is the son of the famous Gopher coach back in the 70s, Coach Dutcher. Anyways, San Diego State, yes. I mean, great basketball program. Went to the championship game last year. Now they're going to have to, they have to see how the dominoes fall here, right? If they, like a San Diego State, a UConn, they don't, especially UConn, they don't want to see all 4 corner schools going to the Big 12, right? They want a spot open for them. Because if all 4 corner schools go to the Big 12, now you got to ask, what is the incentive for Brett Yormark to go with numbers 17 and 18 with the UConn and a Gonzaga, or with the UConn and a San Diego State? What's the driving incentive?
As a West Virginia fan, I would like to keep a few spots open for the demise of the ACC. Keep a few spots open for Virginia Tech, Louisville, maybe some schools like that.
Yeah. And great point. And Conundrum said San Diego State does give Yormark the Pacific time zone, which, Yormark wants to go all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast. Yormark did say in an interview he wants the Big 12 story to be told in New York and in California. So a UConn and somebody in California, that would make it happen. I'm just afraid that San Diego State has not quite played their cards correctly during this, but we shall see.
Well, thank you very much. You have a good day.
Appreciate it. Great call. Thank you. Phone lines is open, 763-260-1333. Welcome in to the house that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. The big story of this morning, bam, agenda item, June 6th, special board meeting, Tuesday. Now it says Wednesday there, but it should say Tuesday. Resolved that the Board of Regents go into executive session as permitted by Section 24-6 402, Colorado Revised Statutes, the board will discuss the following matter as announced and pursuant to the subsection as listed below. And here's the money shot. Legal advice on a specific matter. Athletics matter at Colorado Boulder. And that matches some language in some other special board meetings throughout the year. No question about it. And it matched the language of June 8th, 2010. Second paragraph, Chair Bowsley announced that the board would recess into executive session to receive legal advice regarding a specific matter, same subsection 24-6-402. And when this happened, 2010 on a Tuesday, 2 days later, it was announced that Colorado was going to the Pac-10. And then June 11th, there was another Board of Regents meeting set up where Pac-12 leadership and the Pac-12 were invited to attend the meeting. Are we looking at the same scenario? Are we looking at history repeating itself? But except for going from the Big 12 to the Pac-12, Colorado going Pac-12 to the Big 12. Is it actually happening? Is tomorrow a big day or not? Let me know in the comments section or with your phone calls, 763-260-1333. I cannot, no Bunga. Can you expound on Colorado's financial obligations? Folsom Field renovations. I can't. I don't have the knowledge except for that we were told that Colorado cannot make less than they are now. When it comes to conference payouts for the athletic department, one of the reasons they're financing of their football stadium. One of the reasons. One of the many.
Call from
Mo and Vision.
Mo and Vision. Mr. Buckeye, the floor is yours. Oh, we lost him. Call again, Mo and Vision. Jeff Shear had reports stating Arizona State expected to stay in the pack even if Arizona jumps. That's Jason Shear, right? He's done a great job with the story, great reporting, fantastic job. And I'm not going to, Arizona State is not in the same spot as Arizona. They're not in that same spot.
call from
Fantastic job.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi, who's this?
this is John Mincer.
John Mincer, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg, I think a lot of people are forgetting what the Big 12's media rights payout for this year of $44 million is going to impact. How it's going to impact the ACC. I know we're all talking about Colorado moving,
Yeah.
hopefully Arizona, so on and so forth. But I've read and I've heard that Miami and Florida State were already not real happy with the amount of money that UCF was going to be bringing in by joining the Big 12.
Yeah.
But now that the Big 12 is optimistically going to be $50 to $60 million once the new rights deal goes into effect,
Yeah.
that it could have a huge impact on, again, how Florida State and Miami feel about their ACC current contract.
Well,
That's all I got, and I love your show, man.
thanks. I appreciate it. Now, when we talk about, okay, there's a difference between media payout and conference payout. Okay, so media payout, Colorado Big 12 schools are going to get $31.6 million a year, right?
Right.
Traditionally, you would throw on another 13 or 14, 12 to 14 million dollars in other revenue when your conference is paying your schools. You count for your bowl games, your NCAA tourney credits, other stuff, right? You throw all that in.
Right.
In accordance to your conference bylaws, let's say your school is still, your school hasn't done anything wrong, it doesn't get penalized for anything. In accordance to your bylaws, the conference will pay out, distribute all that money. So if you're looking at $31.6 million in media money, your conference payout is going to be 12 to 14 million more. So a Big 12 school is going to make like 44, 45 million, and it probably escalates a little bit. Okay. The ACC.
But the current contract only pays 22 million, but the Big 12 is after the college football playoff, the bowl games, the NCAA tournament. The Big 12 is actually paying out virtually double of that amount. So if you take that into consideration, next year, conservatively, with the four new teams and losing two, but a net gain of 2 teams to the overall conference that potentially could make the NCAA tournament, college football bowl games, maybe even playoffs, the payout is still going to be significantly more than this year, which is already $44 million.
Okay.
So $50 million, I think, is realistic for next year, which is significantly more than Florida State and Miami's getting.
Okay. Yes.
That's all I'm saying is that there may be more rumblings coming out of the ACC in the very near future once Florida State and Miami process that. Well, holy smokes, UCF is going to be making not only a little bit more, but significantly more in the coming years.
I don't think UCF is going to be making significantly more than Miami of Florida in conference payouts. They're going to be making a little bit more. You got to remember. But anyways, it's a difference without a difference. Whatever. Yes, rumblings out of the ACC. Yes, there's going to be more rumblings out of the ACC. Again, the next part of the story of the ACC, though, is who actually pulls the trigger first on challenging the grant of rights in the courts. That's the next part of the story. Until then, they can, rumble. They can complain. They can do this unequal revenue sharing, performance bonus stuff. But none of that's going to solve the issue. So until that happens, the ACC story is kind of stuck right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right now, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be stuck. At least rumbling wise, I don't think it's going to be stuck for very long. Now they're going to be stuck as far as movement goes, but
yeah,
I can see Florida State, Miami once again saying, "Oh, wait a sec, we need to renegotiate our payout because we can't let UCF bring in more athletic money than we're getting."
Well, it's going to be a startling fact, isn't it? Right? I mean, it's. I can completely understand why Miami, Florida, and Florida State pounding the table. I don't think ESPN, they're not a charity. They're a publicly ran company. They can't just tear up their contracts. The next part of the story is who pulls the trigger first on challenging the grant of rights.
Agreed. It's a great time to be a college football fan, and it's even a better time to be a Big 12 fan.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Greg.
You got it. Thanks. Appreciate it. Great call. Cameron B., thanks again for your super chat. Appreciate your ongoing generosity to the show. Appreciate it. Hold 1 second.
Call from
Don,
Don, can you hold for just 1 second?
you got it.
Cameron B, if all these schools leave the Pac-12, what happens to the Rose Bowl? Do they make it a tie-in with the Big 12? If the Pac-12 implodes, if that's where we're heading to, hopefully the Rose Bowl can become part of the Big 10 championship rotation. Split it with Indianapolis or take it all as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, that's it. That's one of the million great questions out there. What happens if the Pac-12 totally implodes? I don't think that's going to happen, but the chances are increasing daily. They got to get a Pac-12 media deal that's halfway decent to keep that conference somewhat intact. Okay, I'm sorry. Who's on the line again?
It's the dog.
Dog. Oregon Ducks fan. The floor is yours, sir.
Fantastic. I'll keep this one pretty close. I'm hoping, perhaps we can peek around 3 or 4 corners here, enter the speculation zone a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm curious as to what your take would be if some of these motions start to come into place. So let's say we get an announcement from Colorado this week. We're out of here. We're off to Big 12 country. Okay.
Yeah.
And let's say nobody else follows them right now. So we take a look at the current situation as it relates to a Pac-12 media deal, and let's take and extrapolate that, down the road a little bit, and we don't ever get a deal that is signable in terms of grant of rights. So what then? What then? Maybe Arizona takes off and goes to the Big 12, and let's say that's kind of where we're at, right? And let's say Fox can't get the Big 10 presidents to come together and say, let's bring in an Oregon and Washington. And you end up with a stalemate, right? And they're like, no, we've run our analysis. It looks like it makes the most sense for us when we're going to put together our next media deal. Well, if you're Oregon or Washington, this is the part where, I can't picture them being totally at ease in all of this, because going to the Big 12 is a non-starter. I can't imagine any scenario where they would do that, because in order to go in, they would have to have like a get out of jail free card in terms of exiting the conference at 0 penalty. So would the Big 10 expect them to just sit there? I mean, I don't even know what happens. Like, they go all streaming or something, but they don't sign away their grant of rights. It's sort of a Band-Aid for a few years, or what happened? I mean, like, how does that play out? I'm curious as to what your perspective is there.
Great question. And of course, I don't have the answer, because you're going down a pathway. I completely get what you're saying, man. It's like the Big 12 grabs a Colorado, but Arizona doesn't jump quite yet, right? But okay, maybe in a few weeks they jump. Okay, now it's Arizona, Colorado, but nobody's jumping anymore unless Oregon and Washington jump. Utah's not going to jump. No one else jumps. Nothing else happens. You're down to 8 schools. Now you got to expand some more. Oregon and Washington is not getting the answer from the Big 10 that they want. Fox Sports is not getting the answer that they want from the Big 10. So what does Oregon and Washington do?
Right.
Because now the Pac-12 is in a weaker position, because you can knock Arizona, Colorado all you want, but bringing in San Diego State, this is not a knock on San Diego State, not a knock on SMU, but you're not going to drive up any revenue. You're not going to drive up your value by that switch, right? Those 2 schools out, those 2 schools in.
Yep.
I get that. Now what happens? I don't know, man. I mean, you bring up, I don't know, but I'm going to say for now, because, and I think people have come to believe me, because they haven't believed me. A lot of people haven't believed me for the last 5 months or whatever. Oregon, the reason why of course, it's easy for me to say this because I'm not part of the Washington fan base. I'm not part of the Oregon fan base. I'm not an alumni. I'm not a donor. I'm not a student. I don't live there. I'm not a fan, right? But man, I think right now they got nothing to sweat. And I know that sounds illogical, but just hang with me, dog. Just hang with me a second. Oregon and Washington have been in those preliminary meetings with the Big Ten. They know Big Ten has interest in them. More than just people try to sanitize this stuff. It's more than a clear and vetted. Brett McMurphy, listen to his words. Read what he writes. It's more than just a clear and vetted. Oh, anybody can be clear and vetted. They're probably on a long list of clear and vetted. No, they are not. Oregon and Washington had the meetings with the Big Ten. Oregon had the meeting with Big Ten in Chicago. Washington had the meeting with the Big Ten in New York City. They know the interest. So, I think the odds, if there's a break in the Pac-12, if the Big 12 can crack it open, Oregon and Washington are going to get some sort of answer from the Big Ten to say, hey, is your legal department, your legal counsel, are they on board yet or not with this? And if the Big Ten says, okay, they don't have any more worries legally, right? Then I think Oregon and Washington and Big Ten are going to sit down, and Oregon and Washington are going to give the Big Ten all the time they need, because this is where you and I disagree just a little bit, dog. I think eventually, if that doesn't happen for now, if Oregon and Washington going to the Big Ten doesn't happen for now, I think Oregon and Washington would join the Big 12, knowing that 99-year thing in the bylaws basically is a 2-year exit fee. Knowing that Oregon and Washington may have to pay out this exit fee to go to the Big Ten 2-3 years, or maybe play it out for 5 years and join the Big Ten then. But I really believe that Oregon and Washington are very confident that they will become Big Ten members some year, either now or some years down the road, because they know the interest that the Big Ten has, and more importantly than anything else, they know Fox wants Oregon and Washington in the Big Ten. You hear what I'm saying?
Well, let's establish. Yeah, I completely pick up what you're putting down there. Let's establish this. So if you were to say, if the Big Ten CEO group held a vote today, Oregon and Washington would clear that vote, and there would just be potential compliance/legal issues that would hold that process back.
No, I don't think it's that clear cut. No.
Okay. So if it isn't that clear cut now, if we fast forward to anything beyond 12 months from now you have USC and UCLA as part of that group, and they are no votes. Oregon for sure. Washington probably. That makes that vote even more difficult than if it doesn't happen now.
I don't it's this is hard for me, Doug, because, and I've explained this before, when on March 31st 2022, when I put out those first few tweets that USC called the Big Ten, right? And I spent 3 months detailing all of it. And then when it finally broke on June 30th, and then they did an article on Peek Around the Corner in the Los Angeles Times, all during that time, Dog, all during that time, from March 31st all the way to June 30th, we were told that the Big Ten vision was going to be more than 2 Pac-12 schools. So we were being told this before June 30th, when everyone else found out that USC was going to the Big Ten. So the USC no vote, no offense to USC people in the chat or watching this, it doesn't matter. Because the Big Ten is not going to have just 2 schools on the Pacific Coast. It ain't happening. Sure. It's not happening. They don't even want to deal with the issues now about the travel issues. They don't even want to deal with the PR issues right now. So, and I know Washington. I shouldn't say that. So I'm way more confident than pretty much anybody else because we were told all this stuff. And then you know what happened on June 30th? It wasn't just that UCLA and USC were announced to go to the Big Ten, but reporters out there said that Oregon and Washington were the next schools to be targeted by the Big Ten. Okay?
Sure.
Then,
wait,
one more second. Then people fell into a trap. They fell into a trap. People then said to themselves, oh, it was only Kevin Warren who wanted to do more than USC and UCLA. That wasn't true. Other Big Ten members, Fox Sports wanted more, but they didn't want to do it with Kevin Warren. That was the biggest issue. And then there's a legal issue. But basically, I am, maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm so confident of this happening between now or 5 years from now. And I think Oregon, Washington has the same viewpoint. But go ahead, Doug. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking through it a little bit, and from Washington's perspective, if I'm a Husky fan, I feel much more comfortable than if I'm a Quacker, because I feel like institutionally, super shoe-in fit. What you also have, because USC and UCLA will become a voting bloc within the Big Ten, attached at the hip in that way, and a top priority for them as it relates to football is keeping and kicking Oregon out of the fertile recruiting grounds of Southern California. That has been paramount to Oregon's success and their rise from a doormat in the 80s to where they are now. That was mission number one, was get your foot in, California and start to own that state, which they do. USC is very aware of that, and they took full advantage from the moment Pete Carroll left and Oregon owned Southern California. So that's a concern for both of those schools together, right?
Yes.
And so if the vote is close today, right, give or take one or two on either side, as we get beyond, a year or two and USC and UCLA are able to participate in these votes and they're blocking that, you now have some other potential viable options. Maybe it's Washington and it's Stanford. Maybe it's Washington and it's newly minted AAU member ASU, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, when you think about it from that perspective, I guess, do you feel any more concerned if you were a Duck fan today?
The only reason why I say the vote isn't clear cut right now is because of Minnesota, an Illinois, a Northwestern, a Purdue, Indiana. They have to know what's in it for them. In other words, they're going to have to get a few more $1 million, right, to bring in an Oregon and Washington. They're not going to take less. They're not going to take the same. They're going to want a little bit more money. They're going to want.
Fox is willing.
What?
Will Fox help? Will Fox help in that way? You think to get what they want?
The question will be: is Oregon and Washington willing to take some of a discount? And they would also have to be reassured about exposure, right? You're going to 18 schools, Big Ten network, the whole thing. So that's why I say it isn't clear cut now. Also, Oregon's got a great football program, great brand. Washington does and everything. If we play this out for the next 10 years, in USC and UCLA, we're in the Big Ten. Only those two schools on the Pacific Coast, making all that more money than Washington and Oregon, all that more exposure than a Washington, Oregon, wherever they're going to be played on, Pac-12 media deal, wherever. I mean, do you think anybody out there, do you think that Ohio State Buckeyes, the Penn State Nittany Lions, the Michigan Wolverines, the Wisconsin Badgers, do you think they want USC and UCLA to be home on an island out there?
Oh, absolutely not.
With all the money advantages over in Oregon and Washington and everybody else, having those two schools with that region just for themselves when we're talking about Big Two conferences, right?
Yep.
I don't think so. I think Ohio State will say, you know what, USC needs just a little bit more competition over in the recruiting grounds over in Los Angeles. So I think in time that's going to play into this as well.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, man, I hope you're right about the Big 12 thing, but I just don't see it. I mean, I think, Oregon's brass would rather gnaw their right arm off than
so would Washington.
Yeah,
we do know of a Board of Regents in Washington that definitely does not want Washington to go to the Big 12. We have intel on that.
The worst fit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't fit in any way. I mean, just putting leadership groups together in the same room is a problem.
Yeah.
I think it's just such a bad fit. So, if that ends up being the case and they're not willing to go there as sort of a Band-Aid, way to pass some time, what happens? Is there any shot you think that Oregon and Washington signs maybe their own mini deal of some sorts exclusively with Fox or something to buy some time? I mean, is there some alternative media outlet, that they can turn to buy that time?
Great question. We've been down that road. I don't have an answer. Could they do a 2-team, bundle their content together to do a 2-team independent contract with Amazon or something? I don't know, man. But let's just focus on Colorado. I know you're a Ducks fan. I get it. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, I know. I get it.
Well,
I get what you're saying. I don't have an answer for you on the pathway.
We'll figure out one corner at a time, I guess, right?
Yeah. Thanks for the call, man.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
Doug.
Doug.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Doug. Great phone call from Doug. Mr. Duck. Again, number 763-260. Got another call.
Call from
Western Civic.
Western Civic is on the line. How you doing, sir? The floor is yours.
Hey, we're doing all right, Greg. How you doing on a midday Monday?
Doing good.
Can you hear me okay?
Doing good. We're analyzing this new Colorado Board of Regents meeting June 6th. It looks pretty ominous.
Well, buffalo is also a verb. But anyway, no, look, I want to talk about a couple relationships, and then I want to answer your question you've been asking all live stream, and that is, what's in it for these big presidents? So let me answer that. But before we get there, just a little bit of history. I have no doubt all this stuff's going on, Greg. I have no doubt that everything you're reporting is happening and that ESPN is pushing it. I mean, look, ESPN is cut out of the Coach Prime thing unless they can get them into the Big 12. Of course they want that.
Yeah.
But how much longer are we going to allow these networks to be buffaloing our prestigious universities here? I mean, Colorado, despite their apparent desirability at this point, is really in a pickle. I mean, this isn't a pleasant situation for a prestigious university to be in. First of all, they just got humiliated by the West Coast Athletic Conference and all of this stuff. But anyway, there's some key relationships. Utah and Colorado are tied at the hip in skiing. And let me also just throw this out there. Those of you who are skiers like me, Colorado Yes, they have some 14,000-foot peaks, but they got nothing over Salt Lake City when it comes to skiing, because you have to drive 2 hours from Denver to go skiing. I've got 11 world-class ski resorts within an hour of my garage in Salt Lake City. I can go catch the POW and be back to the office by 10:30 in the morning. Can't do that in Denver, but that's going to be a problem if Utah and Colorado split, because they're the premier skiing programs in the country. The other relationship is Utah and Arizona State.
Yeah.
These two share a very common history, and in fact are actually a lot closer together than Utah and Colorado. You people in Utah often talk about Arizona much more than we do Colorado. And the history, of course, is in 1975, Arizona State, I believe, I forget all the details, they beat Nebraska in a bowl game, and they ended up the only undefeated team in the country that year. We're still not 100% recognized as the national champions, but I think later, I'd have to go back and look, we're given a little bit of a share. And who else did that? The University of Utah did it in 2009 after beating Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. They were the only undefeated team in the country, and were later, almost years later, given a share of that national title. So that's an interesting path. Both ASU and Utah have that common history. I don't think anyone else in the country can make that claim except Utah and ASU. So to answer your question, you want to stop me at all here?
No, go ahead. No, you're going good.
Okay.
You're going good.
So, yeah, to answer the question, to the Illinois, the Northwestern,
Minnesota,
the Minnesotas, and all those who haven't, been to the Rose Bowl in a while, this is what you need to pull the trigger now on those PAC schools, and let me tell you why. Delay is not without risk. Have you all been listening to Joel Klatt lately? Now, any of these? Yeah, these guys are affiliated with, the big media players like Fox and ESPN. I mean, they're spokesmen for their companies. I mean, they can't just rattle off everything they want to say. They sort of, they have some autonomy, but they say what they're told to say largely. And Klatt has made it very clear lately that all you schools in the Big Ten that haven't done anything athletically in a while, you're not above being in the difficult, quasi-humiliating situations Utah and Colorado find themselves in right now. And so if you don't pull the trigger now and maintain the Big Ten as the premier athletic institution across the country, and let me tell you, as a side note, I'm a little worried for the SEC right now. University of South Florida, another school, just blew my brackets. I don't know what to do now with South Florida being AAU. If Miami and South Florida go to the big, boy, the SEC is going to be in trouble. Yeah. But in any event, look, the reason the big presidents need to go get those PAC AAU schools now, I mean, they're going to be the premier universities where they sit forever. University of Utah is going to be the premier university where it sits forever. Cal, Stanford, Oregon, Washington, forever. It can only increase, any investment you make now can only increase in value. And if you delay, you literally run the risk of some other entity popping up in the next year or two that is not the Big Ten, that is working with Fox and whatever, and they're just going to cherry pick the teams they want across the country. So that's why the Big Ten should act now. You're never going to get the Pac-12 schools any cheaper than you're going to get them now.
There are people in the Big Ten who absolutely agree with Western Civic.
And so that's it. And hey, Greg, thanks for the show. And no war, my friend.
No war. Thanks for the great call, sir. Thank you.
See you.
The Monty Show put out a tweet. This is the Monty Show. The Arizona Board of Regents have indicated to sources that they will make it difficult for Arizona to act independently of Arizona State. While The Arizona Board of Regents has indicated they can't prevent UA. Hold on.
Call from
Mo and Vision.
Mo and Vision, can you wait a second?
Sure, Greg.
Okay, this is the Monty Show tweet. The Arizona Board of Regents have indicated to sources that they will make it difficult for Arizona to act independently of Arizona State. While the board has indicated they can't prevent Arizona from leaving the Pac-12, they can make it much more expensive to do so without Arizona State. We have spoken with the Arizona State Money Perch, as you all know, for many months, starting January 31st, on this question. And he says that the Arizona Board of Regents can't do anything to Arizona if they should leave. From our point of view at Peek Around the Corner, we don't agree with the Monty Show tweet, but I don't know if he's got more information he's going to share. But he's saying that the Arizona Board of Regents can make it more expensive for Arizona to leave ASU behind. We don't believe that's to be the case because we checked in on this. We believe Arizona does have the autonomy to leave, and to leave without getting a calimony tax like what California Board of Regents did to UCLA. We've checked into this. We believe what we were told. But we're willing to be proven wrong. But that's what the Monty Show just tweeted out. Go ahead, Monavision, Mr. Buckeyes in the house. I'm fascinated to hear what he has to say about this potential game-changing Board of Regents meeting tomorrow, June 6th, at the University of Colorado.
Well, Greg, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to say if that Monty tweet is correct, that's awful news because there's really no good portmanteau for, I guess it'd be arimony or zonamony. Doesn't roll off the tongue like calimony does. So,
yeah.
I'm putting together a list for you. I'm going to call in on one of these shows and explain to you and the audience why Georgia Tech is an ideal candidate for big expansion down the road. But as far as Oregon and Washington go, I think you're right. The lawyers and the presidents want Oregon and Washington completely. They want all the leverage on their side they can get. Fox and NBC and the other partners will probably carry the weight, but they're not going to join at full partners. And not only are they not going to join at full partners, they're going to have to pay extra money to everybody else to get admittance into the Big Ten. They will not go to the Big 12. I don't see them going to the Big 12 for any reason whatsoever. I could see them going independent before they would go to the Big 12. But yes, I think they will join the Big 10. I think it will be soon. I think Colorado is. You're right. I know a lot of people pointed it out. It's the same language.
Yeah.
But yes, that meeting tomorrow is about Colorado realignment. Yes, that's going to be, once that happens, Arizona will leave, whether the Board of Regents likes it or not. Arizona will leave. And then ASU and Utah are going to be on the clock with what they want to do.
Yeah.
But going back to Oregon and Washington, and you made this a very good point. Rick Murphy's words are important. They were vetted and cleared. There are no other lists of people that are vetted and cleared outside of Oregon and Washington. The Big Ten was given their financials. They were given their vision. Oregon went out of their way to go pick a president from our second largest research school, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They plan to invest in research. They're offering to build on their hockey program. Washington has agreed to join the Academic Alliance of Cancer Research Consortium. So yes, they're cleared and vetted. It's the price. It's the price.
Yeah.
They have to come in at an attractive price point, not only to be not full members, but they're going to have to kick another 2 to 3 million in value to all the existing 16 members, not just the small ones, but the USCs, the UCLAs, the Ohio States, the Penn States, the Michigans. Everybody's going to have to make more money on the deal.
Yep.
And that's just, and you're 100% right. There are voting blocks. Ohio State, Indiana, and Purdue. You know, it's usually we're all in line. Nebraska has become a bedfellow to Ohio State since the COVID topic. Wisconsin and Michigan usually vote together as a block. Penn State is always kind of a wild card in there. They'll jump into other people's camps throughout. So I think by June 30th, this is all going to be settled. We'll figure out one way or another.
And remember what Brett McMurphy said on 365 Sports. After he said that Oregon and Washington were cleared and vetted and cleared, he said that if, and he said a big if, those were his exact words. He said a big if the Pac-12 would lose schools to the Big 12, Colorado and some others, he could see Oregon and Washington going to the Big 10. So he clearly wasn't just saying, oh, they made a certain list of cleared and vetted. This is an active list. This is a current active list of targeting of Oregon and Washington. If the Big 12 can crack the Pac-12 open, look out. Look out, buckle up.
Yes. They're the only candidates that have been met with. Notre Dame has an open invitation. They have since the 90s, so there's no, they don't have to clear any hurdles there. But the thing is, we need 4 schools for the Pac-12 to leave first. That'll assuage the lawyers' fear, because their fear is a lawsuit. Whether the Pac-12 has grounds for that or not, it's something that the Big Ten doesn't want to be involved in. So I think they need those 4 teams to leave, at least 4 teams to leave the Pac. Then they're going to go in there and take Oregon and Washington. And I wouldn't be shocked if they take Cal and Stanford as well. I know you don't got a lot of steam on Cal, but I could see them. I could still see them taking Cal and Stanford and going to 20 right away. But I think their ideal would be to only put 4 teams on the West Coast right now until we can figure out
what's going on.
What's going on with the ACC? Because, like I said, there's a lot more appealing candidates for us out in that Eastern bracket: Miami, UNC, Georgia Tech, UVA, and especially Notre Dame. Obviously, we've discussed it before. Notre Dame would fit ideally in that East Coast pod with a Miami, a Georgia Tech, a UNC, a Maryland. So, but yeah, it's buckle up time, guys.
Buckle up.
Grab your popcorn, grab your favorite beverage.
That's right.
And let's strap in here and see what happens, because this is going to be just like that scene in V for Vendetta. He's getting ready to flick those dominoes. And once those dominoes start falling, it's going to get nuts.
It's going to get wild.
Stay tuned. Give a like and a subscribe to Greg, people.
That's right. Stay tuned. Stay close.
No future big expansion without reprisal of a fear of a lawsuit. So,
perfect.
See you, Greg.
Thanks. Great call by Monavision, Mr. Buckeye. Charles M., Indiana, Illinois, Purdue, Minnesota are lucky to be in the Big Ten. They should count their blessings and bring on any school adding more than they do, judge compared to themselves, not compared to Ohio State. I will speak for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Charles M., Minnesota is not lucky to be in the Big Ten. We created the Big Ten. We're one of the original 6 schools, 1896. Minnesota's not lucky to be in the Big Ten. We were the ones who printed the golden ticket to get into the Big Ten for other schools. So we're not lucky. Neither is Purdue, by the way. They're another original member. So I would take, I do not agree with that comment at all. Now, Minnesota, Purdue, Illinois, Indiana, they all bring certain value to the Big Ten. Minnesota is the 17th largest market. Minnesota is crazy valued for other things outside of the top revenue sports. So Minnesota's not going anywhere. Indiana, great basketball. Illinois, great basketball. Purdue, great basketball. These schools, lucky to be in the Big Ten. Man, they've been around in the Big Ten for 100 years, being involved in all the decisions the Big Ten made, including the creation of the Big Ten Network. So I don't quite... Now, some of these schools are going to bring more value. Of course they are. They better, or else they're not coming in. A Washington and an Oregon. But count their blessings. Minnesota created the Big Ten. So don't quite agree with that comment. But again, here at Peek Around the Corner, we can agree to disagree. We can do that here on this channel. Lorenzo Haynes, Gophers have won 7 national titles in football. Of course, they haven't won. They haven't won one for many, many decades. And of course, in this day and age, it's the University of Minnesota is the most northern Power 5 school in the country. Difficult, but counting our blessings, nah. We have been on every single major decision this conference have done since 1896. That's not being lucky. That's not being lucky. Indiana joined in 1899. Sure was. Yep. Yeah, my mug. I got stuff in my mug. I got some tissue paper. Gonna have to clean that out. Nobody runs the Big Ten, T-Duck. Ohio State has the loudest voice, the most powerful voice, but no one runs the Big Ten. Nobody runs the Big Ten. This is not like the Big 12 in Texas and Oklahoma. There are factions inside the Big Ten.
Call from
Hasbo.
The floor is yours. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Hasbo.
Got
How
it.
you doing, Greg?
Good. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I just wanted to call and give you a big thank you. We appreciate our new defensive back, Minnesota sent us, and the West Virginia Mountaineers, that is. I'm going to get back to something that's important to talk about here.
Got it.
My Mountaineers.
Yeah.
And any more defensive backs up there that y'all want to get rid of, want to come play in a real conference and get out of that startup league y'all got?
You're talking about Bishop, right?
Yes, sir. Beanie Bishop.
Yeah, he's a good slot corner. You got to play him in the slot. He did good.
Yeah,
he graded out real good last year. What?
I think that's where they got him marked for last I was reading on it.
Yeah,
anyway.
that's he can't play on the outside, but he's a good slot. He had a good year last year. You should enjoy him. West Virginia's secondary wasn't very good last year, so he's gonna help.
Suck. Yeah, we need all the help we can get.
Yeah.
All right, but I just wanted to call and pull your chain a little bit. You have a great day. I love the podcast.
Thank you, sir.
Take care, buddy.
Thanks. Appreciate it. That's it. Okay. Yeah, Benny Bishop. I'm telling you, the Gophers lost too many players on defense in the portal. That's why I got Gophers going 6-6 this year. Second most difficult schedule on FBS. Lost too many defensive players. We love our defensive coordinator, Joe Rossi. Gophers have been top 10 in defense the last couple of years in the country. Gophers have won 29 games in the last 3 full seasons. The best 3 seasons in a row since 1960 to 1962. But we lost Benny Bishop. We lost guys like that in the portal. And we got a brutal schedule, which I'm excited to watch. I think the Gophers are going to be fun to watch. We're changing our offense a little bit. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully Greg the Cooler comes back again in 2023 when it comes to his predictions of Minnesota. Hopefully we win 9 games again here Should be fun. Michigan will be 15-0. Michigan plays the Gophers early. Week 4, week 5, something like that. Week 5, I think. Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Purdue, and Northwestern, founding members of the Big Ten. Yeah, we lost some defensive players, no question about it. Floyd loves Iowa City. I don't even want to get into that discussion. I do not want to get into Minnesota versus Iowa. The Gophers have pushed around the Hawkeyes the last couple of years, but we can't get it done. We just can't get it done. Again, peek around the corner. We're talking about this. Agenda item, June 6th. Tomorrow, is it going to be a big day? Is the Colorado Board of Regents actually talking about realignment? Tuesday meeting, legal advice on specific matter. Legal advice on specific matter, athletics matter at Colorado Boulder. It's the same language as they used in June 8th, 2010. Same language. Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen tomorrow? Is it about realignment? PJ has not defeated the Hawks yet. No question about it. Got to do it this year. Got to do it this year. Okay, we're going to close it up for today. We could pop up at any time. We had to do this show now because, quite honestly, we were expecting this. We were expecting this this agenda to drop. We were focusing on a certain language, and it happened. The language that matched what we thought. If they're going to talk about realignment, that's the language that you would see in the special board meeting. It doesn't mean this is about realignment. We don't know for sure. Of course we don't. We don't have any reports on it. We don't have any intel from a Colorado Board of Regents member. But it looks very suspicious, especially knowing what we know here, peek around the corner. There was a major event on May 7th in a city in the Midwest when it comes to the University of Colorado, deciding what they're going to do in the future, stick or go. There was an event on May 24th in Boulder, Colorado, and then there was an event May 31st in a state west of Colorado. So we've been following it real time. University of Colorado getting ready, preparing themselves, getting all the T's crossed, all the I's dotted, just in case they decide to pull the trigger. Deep conversations, face-to-face with the Big 12. Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen this week? Is tomorrow the day that they talk about realignment and close it all up, get it all done in the Colorado Board of Regents? Follow us at Peek Around the Corner. Again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel because we could pop up again tonight. If there's more breaking news, we will pop up tonight during doing another live show here on June 5th, heading for tomorrow, June 6th. Is it a big day tomorrow? Until next time. From all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.